Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. You guys seem to absolutely love whenever I do an Expanded content, so I want to try and do it at least once a month, sort of giving you an update about what's happening in Expanded, what you should be excited about Expanded, and kind of give my honest opinion if Expanded will ever return. Now, I'm recording this video before I go on holiday, and it's also going to be released after Worlds, so they could have made an announcement at Worlds, which could be really exciting. Then this is definitely going to be really informative. If not, then it could be good to know exactly what's happening in Expanded. Is Lugia still really dominated deck, or is it now fun again by some really interesting archetypes kind of like breaking through? So we've got some results happening over in Taiwan, some results happening in some in-person tournaments that are happening, which is being reported in Limitless. So we've got to break down all of those results as well to really see exactly where Expanded is. So if we look at some of these results from Taiwan, we can see here that obviously Lugia is still the BDIF there. Lugia Dragon is absolutely insane with the huge amount of capability it can have to option with the likes of Wally, as well as all the dragons as well, like the GG end with the likes of the dragons, which is absolutely terrifying to really kind of say that pretty much you can win like turn 1, 2 of the game, which is just insane when you think about a deck like this. Mew really is a really powerful archetype because it has Skyfield, so you can have a huge amount of hands, you can draw so many cards, have brilliance of a bench, but generally that's where Mew can be absolutely thriving here. And Vikavolt with Maridon, it's just a really perfect combination. We never saw that, so obviously for us, but this is really powerful over in Expanded because you can just item lock as early as turn 1 because you have Max Elixir and Electric Generator. Shadow Rider has always been one of those really strong archetypes. It's always kind of going to be around there. But the rest of it, some of the really powerful archetypes, what we have, like the Shein Power Palkia, which is definitely seen a lot of increased play in Expanded as well as Standard. Lost Zone engines are definitely not as strong in the Expanded format because they're so focused on the cards which we have right now. Expanded really rewards the players which understand the card pool, know some of the really interesting text, and that can really be obvious in some of these deck archetypes. And the rest of them as well, so we've got some Eternatus, some Alolan Raichus, and Arceus variants. And if we look at the results on the Firehouse tabletop, which have been going around a couple of events as well, we can see here that the other sort of decks are definitely the more sort of favored one. These are the not known archetypes like Control, like Rotom V, like any sort of like, and Serena, some ones which aren't as popular kind of get roped in the other. But even here, we can see that Lugia V-Star is still the BDIF, the most played archetype, but Palkia is doing really well by being 7.5%. I honestly like this and generally think that Palkia is super strong. Like I mentioned, having Skyfield can really push Palkia to be an incredibly powerful archetype. Loads of other really good cards as well, like the egg sort of Pokemon as well. I generally am blanking on its name, which is funny. Execute, sorry. It's really, really powerful, which is like pop it back on from Disco Pile onto your bench. So which I generally like about it. Regidrago Box, Mew, Gardevoir, Vikavolt. Also decks which we kind of like understand about it. Gardevoir EX is probably more people playing standard, bit of expanded versions of the standard cards. So I generally think that that's probably why that's there. But Vikavolt is really, really powerful, as well as the Regidrago Box, by having those options to those big, powerful tag team EXs. So GXs. So let's look at some of the archetypes as well. Some of the results which are doing really well at the Firehouse tabletop, just to maybe see exactly what I've been winning, and some archetypes could be really excited about for fun. Now, this is nowhere near fun, but it's Control, which has in fact won here. We can see there are so many one-offs as well, but focusing on the Wobbuffet, that Bide Barricade ability. Really strong programs, making sure that only Psychic Pokemon have abilities, both yours and the opponent. This is good because it slows down that Summoning Star ability, which can easily be set up as early as going second for the Lugia players. So I generally think that's why it's really, really powerful in that one. And with Mixture of Path to Peak, can really slow them from getting their likes of their Silent Labs, which can shut off their Wobbuffet ability. The rest of them are pretty much these stall archetypes, Regirock and Electric. You might go, why are these in here as well? You can't attack with Electric, but you have the Omega Barrage ability, trait, which pretty much makes sure that they don't get any gusting effect or can't be affected by any supporters or item cards, which is really powerful. Seaver is always really good because it gets any of your cards you might potentially need. And you have so many one-offs as well. Having loads of like the Target Whistle plus capturing Pokepuff is good. Target Whistle is basically Equine Horn. So that's definitely, I quite like to see that sort of play here. We have Redisrupt supporter cards like Primarina, Faber, and Team Flare Grunt, and Team Rocket's Handiwork. We have really good sort of comeback cards like N, like Teammates as well, to get any cards you might want to have. You play Tropical Beach, so you can just draw some cards as well. You play Wondrous Labyrinth, so people have to take more energy to attack. And we play like Enhanced Hammer as well. And Lily's Pokédoll, making sure that your opponent potentially might get a KO, but not take a prize card. This deck is full of really unique sort of archetypes as well. So I generally think that's why Control is super, super powerful. But another deck which has one over there is this Arceus Garbodor style deck. And generally, I think this deck is super, super powerful and super, super unique in a way. Garbodor as well has that Garbotoxin ability, which is absolutely dominated ever since it was printed. It dominated when it's printed in Dragons Exalted, and obviously it was reprinted in Breakpoint, which is probably where it saw its most success in Modern Era. But it has Trash Alliance Garbodor, which does more damage to your item cards as your opponent's discard pile. Now, this is good because your opponent might just think, oh, you're just playing Garbodor, I don't need to worry too much and burn through those for item cards. But if you're using a single price Pokemon, which is getting a KO after KO after KO, it can really, really struggle. Your opponent can really struggle. And you can easily get the setup with the likes of Arceus V-Star with Summoning Star ability. Trinity Charge is still pretty powerful as well. But because you have Wally, you can get this Garbodor out if you go second, if your opponent burns through those resources. I generally think it's super, super powerful in this archetype. I think Ranger is really good because you go through anything. You play Iona, you play N for research with the extra burning effect. Girafareet, so you can get some of your opponent's cards into the loft zone, which is good. Mysterious Treasure to get your psychic Pokemon. Parallel City to disrupt the opponent. And Triplet Energy Accelerator is going to attach to your Arceus V-Star and instantly attack with it, which I think is absolutely incredible. This deck here is super, super consistent, super, super destructive, and generally really, really powerful. And I like to see this fun taker on it. And if you're worried about Lugia, you can go the Garbodor, you can go Trubbish, Wally into Garbodor, Floatstone, and all of a sudden, bingo, bango, bongo. They do not have any abilities. No, neither do you, but that's okay. Also, really powerful archetype is Palkia. Now, I love Palkia, and I think Palkia is super, super strong and has so many good consistency cards with this style of deck. Because you have Aqua Patch, you can attack very, very early on. And I generally think this is why this deck is super strong in that sort of way. And I think because you can reuse your other attackers, it becomes super good in that way. Now, you may look at this and go, why on earth is there a Darkrai Umbreon tag team? Well, because you can use a V-Star power and a GX attack, you can use GX attack from Umbreon, which pretty much makes sure the opponent can't play any trainer cards. So you can go this turn one, really slow down the opponent that way, and then you can get a setup where Palkias get some gusting effect with Guzmas, Raihan to Energy Accelerate later on. I just think this deck is just super strong in that way as well. Muscle Band pretty much makes sure that if both people have a full bench, you're doing that 280 damage, which is generally really good. Manaphy, so you have free retreat, Fiona to have some gusting effect, She Empowered to get those 2 water cards, a Battle Compressor to get some extra discarding effect, and then you can reload it with Aqua Patch and gain those supporters you might potentially need. Honestly, this deck here is making me really excited for Expanded and making me go, I need to pick up an extra 1-1 line of Palkia because I nearly have all of these cards here because Palkia is super, super strong in Expanded, and this is really, really strong here. The likes of playing the Darkrai can really slow down the opponent's setup with Lugia, and I generally like they're trying to combat Lugia as much as possible. And this deck here, I generally think it's absolutely incredible. So many good support Pokemon with Tapu Lele, Dedenne, and Squawkabilly. Yes, and Crobat. Yes, you are really weak to any ability lock, but I think it's really, really powerful, really, really strong, and definitely potentially a strong archetype to play in the expanded format. Now, as well, let's just look at Lugia. The top 4 deck, it's obviously done very well. We should look at where Lugia is trying to adapt to it, having really, really powerful sort of matchup here. We're seeing the Wally here. We're seeing the Battle Compressor. We're seeing the 4 Special Charge. We're seeing the 4 very, very strong Dragon Pokemon, which use attack, and Silent Lab as well. It's really powerful because it shuts off Ultra Necrozma's ability, which obviously is very much redundant. You need to have certain amount of prize cards left to really make it attack. But because you're playing such a thin line of Lugia and a thin line of Archeops, this is when the other decks really start to thrive. We're seeing the energy cards, which are really focusing on just the 4/4 double dragon, double colors, and 1 recycle, so you constantly get that back. And the rest of it is really, really straightforward. Pokemon Communication, you can put back at your Archeops potentially in your deck, and then reuse it with Battle Compressor. The supporter cards are very, very thin because you want to be disruptive, but you want to use your Wally turn 1 to really get that Lugia to really start attacking, because your Garchomp V is really good for sniping. Guzzlord is really good as an attacking option, and potentially if you need to use the GX attack, but you mainly use that GT end on Giratina Garchomp to put away 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And Weirdeer is a pretty decent level for attacking as well, to put on the bench. Then when it goes in the active spot, load it up with all his energies you have in play, because you have double colors and double dragon. It's just, yeah, really, really powerful attacking option. This is pretty much the most threat. Like, if Expanded comes around, this deck will be the strongest one and the one to beat. So definitely something which I would be really struggled about. So another sort of decks as well, if we look at Shadow Rider, this is where the deck is kind of starting to be kind of going towards here. Temblor Sinnoh is really powerful to really slow down the likes of the Lugias, which are kind of go around there. But you have the Gengar, Mimikyu, and Trevenant. Gengar, Mimikyu, obviously making sure they can't play anything with the Horror House GX, and the Trevenant as well, pretty much discarding 2 of their cards. Try and make sure they have no option to use any of their cards as much as possible. Radiant Eternities is good because if you start with it, oh no, it's a shame. Scoop up Cyclone, bring it back up. Really, really powerful. Really use it to really make sure you can potentially have those amazing amount of Shadow Riders as early as turn 2. Generally, I think this deck is pretty powerful as well. Underworld Door, load up the energies, do huge amount of damage with its attack. Pretty much that's exactly why Shadow Rider has been one of the strongest archetypes in the expanded format until the release of Lugia. So definitely something to be keeping in mind on when you are playing an expanded format. You need to play definitely some outs to these Shadow Riders. And other sort of one as well, if we look at Regidrago Box here, we can see all of these decks doing pretty well as well. And because we're playing other sort of cards like Gardenia's Vaga can really power up the Regidrago. You have Raihan, which can help power up it. And you have so many really strong Pokemon cards to go with it. You can have Dialga, who can take an extra turn. Mega Rayquaza EX, which is 300 damage. And you have Noivern V and Noivern EX, which can really disrupt the opponent that way. And obviously, you have the likes of Goodra and Duraludon to do a huge amount of damage. Now, what also makes Regidrago really powerful is double Dragon Energy. You can attack much easier, much quicker, and that's generally why this deck works. And it means having Garbodor can really be that disruptive element that this deck can absolutely require. And Special Charge as well to reuse your double Dragon Energy. This deck here, I think, is definitely a really cool toolbox and much stronger and expanded because it has the likes of Battle Compressor, Double Dragon Energy, Parallel City, Mysterious Treasure. You have so many better options in this style deck here, which can get the cards you might want to have, get the extra discarding effects, and generally just become a much more stronger, consistent archetype. That's why I think Regidrago is super, super good, and this is a really fun deck to really try out with. And kind of finish off, let's look at Rotom V. Yes, Rotom V, because you have so many really interesting and really unique tool cards. You have obviously Floatstone, which is really good, so any Pokemon can't really stay around. You also have Thunderous Mountain, so you can attack for 1 energy. Forest Hill Stone, which is a really good option in this deck. But you have the like of Gigantic Bomb and Bursting Balloons, so they do some more damage if they're attached to it. So generally, you have some really unique style tool cards in the style deck. Lightning types, so you can already hit for weakness against Lugia, and then you have Pseudo Widow to limit their bench size. You can really see here Draftreaks and so many decks here to really Lost Zone any of their Archeops which are going around there. So generally, this is a super, super fun, consistent style deck. Raihan, so you'll constantly attack and get a card you might want to have, and Guzma as well. So generally, with Speed, Lightning, with Thunder Mountain, you can attack as early as turn 1 if you get loads of cards in discard pile from the likes of Battle Compressor. This is a really fun archetype, really silly, really goofy, but again, rewarding the creativity, rewarding knowing what the card pool is. And generally, that's why I think Expanded is a lot more fun than people give it credit. So should we get excited for Expanded? Now, obviously, at the time this is recorded and I've done it, this is before Worlds, but it will be released afterwards. So will we see the return of Expanded? The answer is I generally don't know if it's a good sort of thing for ever return. Not everyone is a fan of this format, but I generally think it could be a really interesting, unique sort of take. If we have like one regionals or one special event over in Europe, one regionals in America gets expanded, we could kind of give it the limelight as well. It would be very expensive to get the really good cards you want to have, and Lugia price would absolutely skyrocket when it becomes expanded, but it could be very interesting to kind of play. A lot of people really don't like expanded because it kind of focus more about if you have these cards beforehand, but if you want to try Expanded, maybe try a couple of decks of proxies. Really understand exactly what makes some of these decks tick. If there's a deck which you really like you might want to try Lugia, or you might want to try the Palkia, or Serena, or Malamar VMAX did really well at some of the events. If you want to try any of those decks, definitely check out Limitless. Definitely check out some of the links I will be putting in the description below, because it really helps really expand people's mind, pun intended, just to make sure that you're absolutely ready to understand if Expanded ever returns to get an update from Worlds. So I hope this has been your fun little monthly update on Expanded. I'll obviously be back with more Expanded content in the next few weeks or so, but I'll be back in a couple of days' time for another video. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. If Expanded returns, will it be a good thing? Honestly, I'm not unsure as of right now, just looking at the results as well, but people are still playing it. People still enjoy this format, so potentially we could see it return at a smaller scale or any sort of big scale sometime soon. And we'll be back soon, and I'll see you guys then. Bye for now.